You order a burger, and without even thinking about it, you ask for fries. French fries. Crispy, salty, golden. But here's a question most people never ask. Why are they called French? The answer is that they almost certainly are not. The true origin of the fried potato has nothing to do with France. It involves frozen rivers, a future US president, and a simple mistake made by American soldiers over 100 years ago. Let's go back to the beginning. The potato itself did not come from Europe. In 1553, a Spanish conquistador turned historian named Pedro Cieza de Leon published a book about his travels in South America. He described a strange food he encountered in modern-day Peru and Bolivia, calling it a kind of earth nut, which, after it is boiled, is as tender as cooked chestnuts. That was the potato. It took nearly 2 centuries for Europeans to fully accept it as human food. Now, to find the real birthplace of the fry, we have to go back to the winter of 1680 along the Meuse River Valley in modern-day Belgium. In the small towns of Namur and Dinant, the river was the source of life. The locals survived on small fish, which they would catch and fry up as a staple meal. But when winter came and the river froze, the fish became impossible to catch. Faced with a frozen food supply and hungry families, the villagers looked for a substitute. They took potatoes and sliced them lengthwise to look like the little fish they were missing. They dropped those sticks into hot oil, just as they did with their regular catch. This was the birth of the fried potato, or as the Belgians call them, frites. For a long time, the French actually looked down on the potato. So how did the name get swapped from Belgian to French? There are actually 2 answers to that question. The first involves Thomas Jefferson, the 3rd president of the United States. In the early 1800s, Jefferson served as the American minister to France. While there, he encountered fried potatoes and fell in love with them. In 1802, Jefferson hosted a dinner at the White House and served potatoes served in the French manner. The recipe, which historians believe came from French chef Honoré Julien, was written in Jefferson's own handwriting. By the 1850s, French fried potatoes appeared as a featured recipe in American cookbooks. But the explosion of the name on a global scale happened on the battlefields of World War I. In 1914, American soldiers arrived in Europe to fight. They were stationed in the southern region of Belgium, where the local population speaks French. When the soldiers bit into these delicious, deep-fried potato sticks, their Belgian guides and vendors naturally spoke to them in their native French tongue. The soldiers assumed that because they were hearing French, they were in France. They called the dish French fries, and when they returned home after the war, they brought that name and that craving back to the United States. By the time the error was discovered, it was too late. The name had stuck. This misnomer has caused a fierce culinary rivalry. Belgium takes its fries very seriously. Unlike the thin, pale fries common in fast food, Belgian frites are thick, double fried, and served in a paper cone with a small fork and a choice of dozens of sauces. Mayonnaise is traditional, not ketchup. As a result, the Belgian fritekot culture has been officially recognized as national heritage. The debate even hit the political world in 2003. During the Iraq War, when France refused to support the American-led invasion, the chairman of the U.S. House Committee on House Administration, a Republican congressman named Bob Ney, decided to rename the food in congressional cafeterias from French fries to Freedom Fries. His colleague Walter Jones had suggested the idea after a restaurant owner in North Carolina named Neil Rowland did the same thing at his diner, Cubby's. Ney described it as a small but symbolic effort to show the strong displeasure many on Capitol Hill have with our so-called ally, France. The name change was temporary, lasting only a few years before quietly disappearing in 2006 after Ney resigned. When asked about the episode years later, Congressman Jones said, "I wish it had never happened." What does the French embassy have to say about all this? In 2003, when asked about Freedom Fries, a French embassy spokeswoman named Nathalie Loiseau calmly pointed out that fries actually originated in Belgium, not France. So what is the truth? The fry was almost certainly invented in Belgium by villagers on a frozen river in 1680. The name French likely comes from Thomas Jefferson's influence, later cemented by American soldiers hearing French voices in Belgium. The French themselves did not invent it. They simply helped popularize it. Belgian researcher Pierre Leclerc has even pointed out that a German-born cook named Herr Krieger, trained in Paris, was selling sliced and fried potatoes in Belgium around 1845. So the real origin might be Belgian, with French roots, created by a German cook. The next time you dip a golden fry into ketchup or mayonnaise, remember, you aren't eating a French delicacy. You are eating a clever Belgian substitute for fish, discovered in 1680, served at the White House in 1802, misnamed by tired soldiers in 1914, briefly renamed Freedom Fries in 2003, and loved by the world ever since.